need you to show me your ID. Okay. This is the last time I'm asking you.
I know, sir. I don't believe I have it.
I have to take you back to the command.
Here we are on beautiful Jones Street.
You saw Ted Jones.
And I'm trying to tell the police officer, it's not his tripod, it's
Bro.
me. Why are you going after this guy so much? I'm the guy missing a tooth. And so you're going to cut it. So when I get up to zoom in on you from time to time, you're going to chop that out. Yeah,
just cut it a little bit. Okay, what's up? Hey, guys. Ted Jones World Podcast here. Episode 400. Could you believe it, James? We got James, videographer, photographer extraordinaire. Mm-hmm. We've been working together now for like 4 months, right?
Well, I think so. About 4 months, yes.
So I don't know much about you, James, besides the fact that you're a very prompt person. You're always on time. You're actually probably like, I'd say on a good hour, you're usually like 15 minutes early, which is always appreciated.
I love the fact that you noticed.
You know what's also funny though, dude? Like anytime a comedian comes on the podcast, it's likely that they're going to be at least 10 minutes late, which it's fine because like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But then the extra 10 minutes always helps. Yeah, and you sometimes when I see you, I'm like, maybe I'm not ready occasionally, but it's all good, man. So I think we wanted to get on this episode just to talk a little bit, get to know you a little bit better. If you have any questions for me, we've probably spent, I'd say a total of what, like probably like 40 hours together. Yeah. Does that sound correct?
Yeah. Roughly, yeah.
Okay, cool. So do you have any questions for me off the cuff? And then we can just get into it, dude, because I have questions for you.
Okay.
And use that water is next to you, by the way.
Thank you.
Some of that tap water, buddy.
Yeah, here we go. I guess my first question would be, when did you decide to flip the switch?
Put that microphone a little bit closer.
When did you? So sorry. Yeah, you could see I'm not used to being behind the mic. When did you decide to flip the switch and go from like, hey, I enjoy this, I'm good at it, to actually like, hey, I'm gonna give this a go, like full time, or comedian, stand up sketch. When did you decide to like turn that switch?
Well, I had been working in my dad's company for 6 years in real estate. And I was always kind of just messing around with the idea of doing stand-up. Yeah. And I would do it maybe like once a week on a Friday night. And then I got more serious about it in 2019. I had told my dad that probably within like the upcoming months, I was going to stop working at his office. And then COVID hit. So I stayed around, helped him a little bit more. But once shows started to come back into play, I'd say like, I guess it was like May of 2021 is when I really started to kick it in gear. And then I've been doing this full time since then. So I had a safety net from working in my dad's office, like saved up money for 6 years. And now here we are doing it full time.
No, and that makes, okay, now I get the timeline a bit. And I think one of the things that calls out to me, because I'll be honest, I don't know personally too many comedians, but you're like so easy for me to work with. Like you're highly approachable. And I think from what I've seen you do out in the street with people, like, it's kind of funny because I do street photography too. That's not, I'm not getting paid for it. But you have to be approachable in a sense that you don't scare somebody. You come off disarming, and it's similar to what I do for street photography. But seeing somebody else do it the way you do it and how smooth you are at, like, hey, we got a couple of questions I want to ask you. To be honest with you, you have a very high ratio of people wanting to engage with you.
Dude, except for that one day where we fucked up on the microphone.
Well, when we messed up on the microphone, if it seemed like for some reason, please, ladies, this is no whatever. Nobody wanted to answer any like athletic questions about who's your favorite.
It was who's the best athlete of all time? Was that the question? Yeah, nobody wanted to answer that.
It was like nobody. So have you ever had other people have noticed this of you? Like other people note this to you, or is it just because
that I'm personable?
Yeah, you're very approachable. You're very approachable.
Yeah, well, I don't know necessarily if I've been told I'm approachable. Maybe more so, like I said, I'm more personable. Like
disarming.
Like I can have a conversation with basically anyone. Like we've had, dude, I don't know, like at least 200 guests on the podcast before this. Yeah. So I've definitely learned to be able to kind of talk to anyone and just see like what other people are interested in. There are obviously a lot of other people that are more difficult to interact with, but I think in general, I'm pretty solid.
And I wonder if you get the same thing I get out, again, like non-paying photography that I do, the street photography stuff. As much as I love the photographs to come out, there's so many backstories to the conversations you have with people that is like, it actually makes it part of the smile that you get out of it, is having these conversations with people that, because you look at the world these days and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody hates everybody. Nobody wants to talk. That's completely not the case from what I see.
Yeah, man. And especially when people will talk about, like some people maybe outside of the comedy realm will be like, is it really hard to do comedy in this day and age? Like, are people really uptight? Like in the clubs, no. Like I find myself being able to look at a couple and just off the top of my head, if this couple looks like they're from a country in the Middle East, I'll spit out a country from the Middle East. It won't matter. You know, like I'll be like, what are you guys from Iraq or something? And like, maybe I won't be correct, but in doing that, I think it just like it loosens everybody up. In a comedy sense, when you're making fun of an entire audience, then everyone feels like they're part of the joke. You know?
Right.
Okay, so I know we spoke initially a few hours ago about, you know, we were going to talk about the last 5 months and what we've been doing. So I think I met you for the first time in Washington Square Park like 4.5 months ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I was not expecting a guy like you, dude. I was expecting like a 20-year-old like NYU student. And then I got this photographer, videographer extraordinaire. And it's been cool, man. It's been a rewarding road. Cause I think like when we first met each other, we were kind of like I'm still trying to figure out what works best for the brand. You were kind of just getting into the video aspect and being kind of just a student of how I like things to be shot. And I think we're learning a bunch as it goes.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, I think this goes back to that approachable, that friendliness, that disarming aspect to it, where it's like, you kind of know pretty quickly, like, I'm going to be able to work with this guy. You know, you don't have to working with somebody. And it's kind of like, you kind of get that jive that it's like, hey, I have the best intention. And I think you know that. Yeah. And I know you have the best intention. And I've said this, you know, to my friends, I've said this to my parents, you know, it's like this guy turns around in the middle of the shoot and he says, so how you doing? And he's not asking me about the shoot. He's asking me like, how was your week? And he like is really asking me. And it's like, you know what? That's cool. I like that. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. It's human. It's how we should all be, you know? Yeah.
And I think also on top of that, it just makes us more malleable to like, we can work together easily. Yeah. You know, if you're shooting something and I'm like, all right, what do you think about this? Because like ultimately you have the first view of the cut.
I do.
You know what I mean? So I really appreciate things like that. It's a patience thing, and it's also recognizing that I'm super intense and I like to do things promptly. And I think like finding you, a guy who I was talking about in the beginning of the episode, you're super prompt and you're super willing to just film whatever kind of we're thinking about doing, even if it's freaking dumb. We're shooting a sketch with 4 different me's in a sketch. And I think it's just, it's nice to have another creative during the process.
Yeah. And I think absolutely, I totally agree. And I think that one of the things that allows for that is, I think this goes a little bit to the conversation we had just prior to this, which is what I saw in your bathroom. Why was I in Ted Jones' bathroom? Well, I had to use the restroom. and I go in and I look to my left and I'll be like, what? And I look a little bit closer and this guy's got Post-it notes in his bathroom. I have 2 questions about that. How are they not soaked? I don't know. I don't know how you pull them out.
My sister bought those for me my last birthday. Oh. So not this past November 13th, the November 13th before that. They're called sticky notes, like sticky shower notes. Okay. And it says like never put another goal down the drain or something like that. Yeah. And like 2 packs, there's probably like 40 notes in there. But yeah, they stick to the wall, and that's how they stick is the water. The shower
That's
water.
Fantastic. But and a lot of it is self-encouragement. A lot of it is all these encouragement.
I'd say all of it actually.
Yeah. And it's like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I knew it. Because you kind of get that feeling where it's like, it goes a little bit to what you were saying, where it's like, there's been times where you're like, hey, you messed this up. Stop cropping my head like that. And I know that you can tell me that, and you know that I'm not getting offended. If anything, it's more of kind of like, shoot, I'm so sorry. Thank you for calling it out. And I think we both see that the genuine, you know, trying to get it right and growing with our skills to do it both together. Yeah. And that goes such a long way, because it's like, you could have easily been like, hey, listen, you cropped my head a little too much. I'm done with you. And you didn't. You were like, hey, don't do that again. And I made it short. You know, it was just the way I was doing it. Yeah. And that just goes such a long way, you know, with working with another person, another creative, you know, who's got the biggest egos and who's got this and that. And you're hurting them. But no, you're not. He's just telling you to don't do that, you know? Yeah. And when I saw all of that writing up there, it really made me feel like it's something that I'm telling myself, which is, you already have enough people who are going to tell you, you could do it like this. You're not good enough. Do more of this. Don't do that. Do the. No, you have to be critical of yourself, but you also have to be really self-encouraging of yourself.
We're not supposed to live being so comfortable. You know, we're not supposed to be pent up in this 75-degree heated apartment every single day. You know, we're supposed to go outside, have our skin almost get frostbitten up. But I think that, like self-encouragement goes a long way. But once you do it, I think you feel like a lot different.
Absolutely. It's kind of like you got to, you know, there's some things I try to do in photography for myself and videography that maybe I haven't done before, right? And, you know, you can prepare all you want, and of course you should, but sometimes it's like, to your point, it's like you're not going to be able to get any form of gauge unless you just give it a go. And then once you give it a go, then you could check off the fact, because you're learning as you're doing it. And it's like you said, starting that process, if you just keep putting it off, you're never going to get anywhere. You can prepare all you want, do all your research, think about it. But if you don't try it, you're not ever going to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's the difference between the people who, and I don't want anybody to feel lazy or like that I'm talking down to anybody if they're in that boat, but it's like, get up off your ass and just do it.
Well, I think you have to start before you're ready. I've heard that too.
Right.
You know,
yes.
like successful people start before they're ready
Right.
all the time.
Richard Branson, fake it till you make it. You know that what that really means when you're actually there. You might not have ever done something like, let's say, shoot architectural photography, because you do event, you do street photography, you do food photography. But I've never done architectural photography. But let's say I think about it and I say, well, I got the skill sets to do it. I thought about it and I know what I have a passion for and what I see in architectural photography that I like. I'm going to fake it until I make it. You have to at least have the ability and the skills to say that phrase. And then when you get there, when you actually go to actually attempt it, that's when I feel like you're putting the genuineness behind what is otherwise misconstrued, misunderstood. Fake it till you make it means you're not good enough to do it. You don't have the skills to do it. That's not what that means. It means you're almost there. You're almost there.
Where did you grow up, James?
I was born in Brooklyn, moved to Queens. Are you going to, is about the way I talk?
No, in general, I'm curious. But yeah, no, obviously I knew you were a New York guy by the way you talk.
Wait, to a coffee. Give me that's my mom. Like
she says coffee.
So the funny thing is, back in the day, there was a difference between a Brooklyn accent and a Queens accent. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because like now it's the Bushwick Ridgewood that meshes together.
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn, moved to Queens, and then back in the day, you know, boomers, if they were from that area, the goal was Long Island. Get to Long Island. Get your front yard. Stop playing stickball on the stoop.
Yeah.
You know, so we moved there. And, you know, as much as there was a lot that I hated about it, I was in the city all the time. I was going to Kim's Video? Remember Kim's? Where they had videos and CDs and
This is
stuff.
like arcade place?
No. It was for music and videos. Please cut out.
I will cut out the kids, I promise.
And I would go in there and on the weekends, you know, because it was not far from where I was living I was in Franklin Square, which was butted up against Queens.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in Belrose, Queens for a little while too, which was technically Queens almost. It was Queens. And then eventually I moved to Chicago because if you're from New York, you can say it. I love it and I hate it. Get me out of here.
So you went to Chicago though?
I went to Chicago. Yeah.
Did a gig bring you there though?
An ex-girlfriend did.
An ex-girlfriend?
No.
She's from New York?
No, yeah, she's from New York. She went to school for experimental film.
At FIT?
No, she wanted to go to Chicago Institute of Arts.
So you met her in high school?
I met her after college.
Yeah.
We were dating, and she was thinking about going there. And she asked me, you know, like, hey, and I was like, I would love to. I was literally looking for an opportunity to leave. Yeah, which is kind of funny. I think it's like if you're born and raised here, you kind of maybe can think that way more than other people.
Yeah,
you can always come back to this place, you know. So I moved there and I loved it. I did really like it.
How long were you there?
About 4.5 years. Yeah, about 4.5 years.
I think we briefly talked about that, but this was after college?
This was after college.
And you lived with your girlfriend there?
No. So she had never lived with anybody at that point.
How much was she older or younger than you?
Oh, younger. She was younger. And not by much. I say that like she was like
how much younger to save yourself?
She was like a year younger. She was literally,
okay.
But she was okay. So I was a late boomer, right? A late bloomer. My first girlfriend, I was 20. Yeah,
that's not so late.
Yeah, it was also the first kiss too. Another thing.
Oh yeah, you got everything wrapped up in one.
Yes, yeah. And so it was kind of like we were really kind of good friends. And I was like, hey, Janine, you know what? Why don't you get we're going to be here for a bunch of years. go get your own place. And she loved it. So she got her own place in Chicago. I got my own place in Chicago. And then the second year we moved in together.
Okay.
It was great. It was fun. The city is cool. I really like it there. I really liked it there. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Listen, the deep dish, that's lasagna. That's not pizza. But they do have really good pizza there, just not the deep dish. Not for me. At least not for me.
So you lived there for 4.5 years, came back to the city, and you got a job as a creative director?
No, not that much of a jump. I moved into advertising. I didn't even know what advertising was. Prior to that, I was at a graphic design studio. Then I did freelance design in Chicago. When I moved back, I really didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what to look for. I was doing design because I went to school for painting. You're not going to live off of that. And believe it or not, I got the job through Craigslist, a place called Modem Media. And it was an advertising agency, and I had no idea what that was. That company was responsible for creating the first ever online digital advertisement ever. And then I went from designer, senior designer, art director, senior art director, associate creative director. And then after that, I'm done with this.
So you climbed the ladder of the creative side.
Of the creative side, but I will say this. I never knew this. I'm not really cut out for corporate, and I'm not wearing that like a badge of honor. I struggled. It was not easy for me. I am not an extraordinarily diligent person in regards to, like, if I can focus on something, I can put the diligence behind it. If somebody gives me an Excel document with 20 line items, I'm fine. 150, I start printing it out. I have a hard time with it. I don't know if it's the ADHD. I don't know what it is. I was never diagnosed with anything like that.
Yeah.
But the corporate structure and the inter-office relationships, my biggest mistake was I tried to be too friendly to too many people in a corporate environment where you need to sometimes kind of, okay, you can be friendly, you could be nice, but there does need to be a delineation between a certain level of it, because at the end of the day, you might have to make the call. No, the client said to do this, not this. I love your design, but sorry, we're not going to go with that.
What was the time frame after you retired from there and then going forward?
Oh, good question. So it's like I did it for about 22 years, and I knew that like it's very difficult to continue on to in advertising to do it until you're 65 or 70. It is, right? Because you gotta
have your fingers on the pulse, right?
Right. And I do believe you can do that. I have friends that are younger than me. They keep me hip. They keep me cool. I'm also very open to new stuff. And I take tips from millennials. I take tips from Gen Z. I'm Gen X, but you know what? There's a lot that these guys are bringing to the table that I'm like, yeah, good for you. We should have had more mental health awareness. Gen Xers, like you say, oh, we're tough. No, you just didn't get the right help when you should have. But you can stay in the know. But what happens is your salary has climbed so high that you wind up needing to get to like VP level. And I'm just not that. Yeah.
Okay, next topic. Any questions, any thoughts, or what's been the best part of shooting together? We've had some great events. We've had some funny moments with people. We've had some lesbian interviews. We've had some gay interviews. We talked to everybody.
I think the most fun, believe it or not. Okay, well, it's from a certain perspective.
Yeah, I think it's got to be from your perspective. You know, maybe that would be underrated.
Yeah, because there's the comedy of it is fun many a times. You know, throughout the different skits you do, the sketches and the questions you ask and the responses you get. That stuff's great most of the time. I enjoy it. I have a real good time. But I'll tell you what, you almost getting put in handcuffs down on the subway, and I'm trying to tell the police officer it's not his tripod, it's me. Why are you going after this guy so much? I'm the guy missing a tooth. I'm the guy. Why are you going after him?
I think it was because initially, okay, so for those of you who don't know what James and I are talking about right now, we were shooting Man on the Street, I should say Ted Jones on the Street, and we had a tripod, just like how we're set up right now. Camera on top of the tripod. James is behind the tripod in the subway station between the B, D, F, and M and the A and C upstairs. So you walk down, you basically see us, but cops come in. And this cop comes in hot. He walks over, and he goes, "I need to see your ID."
Yeah.
And I was like, because just from knowing my rights, just from looking at TikTok videos, I'm like, I don't think somebody could just come up to me and be like, "Let me see your ID." So I was like, "Why do you need to see my ID?" He's like, "I'm going to need to see your ID right now." So he thought that I was being hostile, but I was just matching his energy. And then as soon as he was like, as soon as he was like, we're gonna have to take you back to what did he say? We're gonna have to take you back to counting or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah,
but you're right. He came in like it was like, did you have a bad morning? Like he came in rough on you.
Yeah, he came in hostile.
And the funny thing was all about the tripod. And meanwhile, I'm the videographer. It's my equipment.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to tell him, like, dude, it's mine.
I think it was just he saw me with the stick in my hand asking people questions.
Yeah.
He knew that he was going to come firing for me. But then by the end of it, like 5 minutes later, he was our boy.
Well, and that was the funny
And then we
thing.
started asking
And then we wound up
questions.
shooting video of him. It was good. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Actually, matter of fact, we'll pop up some of this video right here so you guys know what we're talking about.
I'm Ted Jones here in the subway. I'm going to be asking people innocent questions.
I need you to show me your ID. This is the last time I'm asking you.
I know, sir. I don't believe I have
I
it.
have to take you back to the command.
All right.
I need you to have your ID.
I don't have my ID. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt that says my name.
I need you to show me your ID. This is the last time I'm asking you.
I know, sir. I don't believe I have it.
I have to take you back to the command.
What's something that's too expensive that shouldn't be expensive?
Food.
Hey, in general?
Yes.
Gas.
Gas? And I was saying that manicures are getting out of control too, right? That's what we're hearing. That's what the girls are saying.
Because they do a lot. That's why.
That's true. If you do it a lot, you get paid the most.
But he was like, if you don't have your ID, I'm gonna have to take you back to command. But I know from when I got stopped by the cops when I was going like 80 and 65, like 3 years ago, I didn't have my driver's license, and the cop on the moped said like, that's not good. You don't have your driver's license, but. I know he has a database in his car, and nowadays, 2023, you have a computer in your car, you could type in my name. I guess he was typing in yours first, and then he was like, all right, these guys are good. They're cool.
It was interesting from a couple of perspectives, because it was like, we're just going to call it for what it is. You know, it's like, I think as two white guys, we don't experience it very often. And the way he came in on you like that, it was kind of like, what? Dude, you didn't need to do that. You could have just been, excuse me, sir, you're not allowed to have a tripod here. And
yeah, that was the big issue, was the tripod.
Right.
And then I think you were kind of softening the situation, being like, oh yeah, like anytime I'm in Times Square, they don't allow tripods. We should have known this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think we were kind of putting the blame on us rather than
Very
being
easy.
like, you guys are being unreasonable.
Yeah, and the female officer, guess what? She was chill.
Yeah,
she was chill.
I think that's the classic good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever gotten in a situation with cops like that before? Maybe when you're not when you're shooting stuff. Maybe you were in high school or college drinking on the street or something.
Yeah, I used to pull like lines of coke in the drive. No, I'm kidding. No. I mean, I was like,
Lines of coke in the drive-through.
No, I never. I'm trying to think that have I ever gotten in trouble with
Come
the
on,
police
you must have,
officers?
dude. Being in New York, subway surfing.
Subway surfing. Okay, I know what I got in trouble for. Oh, this is very similar to your friend that came by, the comedian. So I don't know if this is like a thing for our generation.
Tony?
Yeah, the guy from Chicago. The comedian from Chicago who moved from Chicago.
Oh, Luca Farrow.
Yeah. So, I grew up with the Atari 2600.
What's
But
that? Is that
It's
a
the
gaming
Nintendo,
system?
it's like the Nintendo, like 20 years before the Nintendo.
Was that the first video game, Super Mario Brothers or something like that?
Atari? No.
Atari is its own video game. It's not a system.
Atari is a console.
Yeah.
ATARI is a console.
No, I know what it looks like, and it has that thing.
It was like, it must have been like 84, 85, 86,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit later than that. And as much as we played it, we were so physically active that we were outside all the time, you know? And we were always doing things like, for whatever reason, we would hop on our bicycles and just see how far we could ride our bicycles.
On the back of a bus?
No, within the time frame of like when your mom basically pushed you out of the house in the morning and said, make sure you get home by blah, blah, blah. We drove miles. So from where I was...
You mean you rode the bike miles?
Rode the bicycle miles.
Yeah.
And one time we wound up in Jamaica, Queens, bunch of like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. We got jumped and they stole our bikes.
How far away was that from where you were?
I would say not that far, actually. When I think about it, well, no, actually, where we left it was we were like Eastern Nassau County because we slept over our friend's house, and I was probably about 20 miles about from where we. So we rode our bikes that far, and we had to walk a lot of it home because our bikes had been stolen.
You were a good kid. You look like a biker though, like especially like your hat. Yeah, like you look like you'd be doing the balance and bike, and like you'd be up and up in posture,
Yeah,
balancing.
Vision Streetwear, man.
What were you gonna say?
Vision Streetwear. Yeah, no, I did freestyle bike tricks and BMX and stuff. Not skateboarding. I wasn't into it. I was more into the bike. Yeah, doing BMX racing and freestyle it was called. You know, where you did tricks on bikes. I guess the only thing that like would be closest to doing something sort of illegal, but it was with high school though, was when I cut class, but I jumped out the second floor. I know. I landed
To cut class? Bro, did you do like a jump and dive into the bushes?
I'm 6'3", right? So if you hang out the window, you just took out 6 feet of it.
Yeah, you only have like a 4-foot drop.
Yeah. So I let myself go. I landed in the bushes, and my teachers, they kind of, I guess it was the person on the first floor saw me like through the windows fall down, and they saw me like, yeah. I got in trouble.
Not bad.
Oh.
Not bad. I wonder if you have had, I wonder if you have thoughts when we're filming or concerns. Is there anything that when we're filming together that you think of, or maybe that you learn on spot?
Oh, that's good. That's a good question.
Video related, or maybe just human related, anything?
I think human related, I feel extremely comfortable with how you choose and when you choose to pick people out, because it's seriously very similar to street photography for me. Because I don't sneak photographs of people anymore with street photography. I might go up to them and say, I want to take a photograph of you, and talk to them and get to know a little bit about them. Okay, now go about your business.
Yeah, you did that the other day when our mics weren't working.
Yeah. Go about your business, and I'm going to take a photo.
By the way, just to be clear, I mentioned this before. This was an issue that I'm taking 99.99% of the fault for. I'm giving James 0.1%. But the microphone cord that goes to the camera, I didn't have plugged in. I only had the microphone going. So we lost an entire day of audio that we were able to maybe save 30 seconds of video. But yeah, basically the whole day was a wash. But it ended up being fine. And you learn something new every day. That shit will never fucking happen.
That'll
and then
never
also,
happen.
and James knows to look for the red cord now before we record.
The red cord, and now we have a mic plugged in so I could hear.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I always really feel very comfortable in how you approach people and when you approach people. And so I think that's a really cool learning experience for me to see another person do it, because I don't know other people. I know other people do it. I just don't know a lot of other people who do it. You know what I mean? Like that I talk to or that I work with that can do that can have that comfortability with people to make them feel like, hey, my intentions are good. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Totally cool, but my intention's good. I would say the biggest learning lesson, though, might have to do with how a lot of times you're going to run up to somebody because you have to approach them. And then there's these moments where I'm still at your back. And the last thing I want to do is be shooting your back, you know? So I have to kind of rotate around. But I think what you and I do really well is I've seen you pick up on this, and you then rotate yourself back, which then forces the people, because you have the mic, it forces them to follow you. And we all start to do a pinwheel. So if I get your back, you start to rotate this way, they start to follow you, I come across you this way, I wind up getting your front.
Yeah.
But that's been a really cool learning experience. And it's something I haven't talked to you about it, but I kind of started to feel like I think he kind of sees it, knows when it's going to happen. And I think it's something that we start to do more and more often.
Because I always want to kind of know where you are.
Where I am, right.
Yeah, in relation to me.
Right.
Do you want kids at all?
That's a sad
conversation
story.
out of
sad
left field.
story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, not too sad story. James is divorced.
Oh, really?
Amicably. We were too far apart.
This wasn't the girl from Chicago, though.
No. Amicably divorced, meaning that it wasn't crazy, it wasn't nasty. And we met later on in life, and she really couldn't conceive. And it's actually for the better, in my opinion, to know that we didn't go. We started to try to adopt, right? And what happened was, maybe this is a little bit of the fact that we worked in corporate America, we started to say something's not right about this. Something's wrong. every time you ask us to do something new through the process of adoption, we do it, and we do it fast. You got 2 creative directors who work in advertising. We basically know how to project manage. We know how to strategize. We know how to concept. I'm not saying I'm just saying we have our pulse on the finger. Our finger on the pulse, right? And we were like, no matter what we do, it seems to get further and further away, until one time, one of the women that we were talking to told us, "Oh, you'll be in touch with this person soon."
Who was that? She worked at the adoption center?
She worked at the adoption center, and we knew the person she just said was going to talk to us soon had just quit. And I looked at my now ex-wife and I said, we just shook our heads. We said, okay, thank you so much. We got off the phone. We said, we're done with this. That person quit on them. They didn't even know the person quit. Well, guess what? Fast forward 6 months, that adoption agency was raided by the FBI. Illegal. They were doing illegal stuff. Yes. We were $20,000 in.
Dollars?
Yes.
How much does it usually cost all in? Did you hear? Did you know?
I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about this, because you're buying a kid like you're buying
right. But from from foster home to having the kid in your presence,
it's got to be closer to like. I mean, I'm just guessing.
Not $20K. Like, shouldn't you have had the kid by then?
No. That was like, yeah, right. And like, to this day, I don't know exactly how much of that $20K was actually needed. You know, we were very much so following it along.
Yeah.
They got raided by the FBI.
But what is that? Did you?
We didn't even. We were so heartbroken.
Yeah.
We were so heartbroken. Not so. Okay, we were not going to have a family, and at that moment in time, I was not the type of guy that at 25 was like, I want to have a boy. I want to have a girl.
Bro, this was when you were 25?
No, it wasn't at all. I was not the type of person who was like thinking family at 24, 25. I just made the assumption, I'm going to marry a woman, and it's probably going to happen, you know? And let me tell you something. You might not think you want one now. And listen, to each his own. Whichever you want to do is totally awesome and respected.
Look down the lens. Tell him.
But when you realize you can't have it, and you won't be a mother or you won't be a father, and you're not going to have a son or a daughter, and you're not going to have somebody to help mentor or be there for you when you get older, it's a lot different than when you say, no, I don't want to have kids. Because when you're confronted with the fact that you're never going to be a father or a mother, when you're confronted with the fact that it's not going to happen, it's very different. And it hurt for a long time. I would say about 2 or 3 years.
How many years ago was this?
About 6. Yeah, 6, 7. 6. Yeah. Maybe a little bit more, actually. It hurt because it was like you realize.
So this was in your like late 30s. Right?
Yeah. You realize that you're never going to have that two-way experience. Being able to hug somebody, hold somebody, make them feel better when they're down. Or also have that, you know, when you get older, because guess what? Believe it or not, you make your mom and your dad feel good when you see them and you hug them, because they're later on in lives and you're their company now. You wind up single at the age of 65 and 70 and you don't have a wife or you don't have a kid. It's just you. It's just you. And so it's until you're there and realize, ooh, wow, I'm not going to. It's different. I've made amends with it. I look at my friends like family, or I try to look at my friends as family. You know, family is not just family. You could give those feelings and that care and that emotion and that back and forth and that support to a really good friend. It doesn't have to be a kid. Would have been nice, but it doesn't have to be, you know?
Is there still a chance in the future, though? Like, you find a smoking hot 30-year-old or what?
He could tell you. No. he could tell you. If you're interested, let me know.
I'll shoot down the lens his dating history.
Trust me, I'm done with Hinge. I don't want any. I'm not giving any travel tips to your random island. No.
Damn, dude. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. But I've like I said, I find a lot of joy in trying to be close to good friends. You know, I find a lot of joy in that because it's.
Are you close to some people who you grew up with or went to high school with, or what does your friend circle look like now?
Small. It's smaller.
But like, where from? How do you know them?
Here, there. You know, some through advertising. One through advertising. Couple through more recent, but have known for 4 or 5 years. You know, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of like a funny thing that happened later on in my life. At the time of my divorce, I basically kissed off 2 close friends. I was like, I'm done with you. I give too much to you for you to treat me like that.
Did they not support your marriage? And
No,
your
had nothing to
adopting
do
him?
with that. One of them got themselves into a little too much self-destruction, and I tried to help this person as much as I could. And then when it kind of turned on me, I was like, you're doing this to the wrong person. And as much as I am soft, and as much as sometimes people might think they take advantage of me.
Take it for weakness, your kindness for weakness.
It's funny you say this. A lot of people that fit that mold, you think we don't know that it's happening? We see it coming. We're waiting to see what type of human you are. We see what you're going to do. It's not that I missed it. It didn't go past my head. So it's easy to look at somebody like me and be like, oh, James gets taken advantage of a lot. I let you do it. You're going to have to look in the mirror the next morning, not me. But you know, it's all a learning experience, you know? I mean, I'm 46 years old. Hopefully I got more in me. I think so, you know?
What's been a highlight of your career thus far? Like shooting something, meeting
Photography-wise,
people?
advertising-wise, or just in general? In general. Generally speaking, I think it goes to a little bit of what we were talking about earlier on, which is surprising yourself. Going to take a photograph or a video of something that you know you got the skills, or you know you're close enough. You know you got to get better still. And you got that amazing tension. I love this tension of, like yourself, you were great at tennis. You were good at tennis. I could have had a scholarship playing maybe Division II baseball, maybe Division
No
III,
way!
Yeah, maybe Division II, maybe Division III, maybe. You know?
This is in high school? You really
Yeah,
good? What
yeah.
schools were you looking at? Bro, so you know I chose between tennis and baseball when I was 12. I won the MVP Little League when I was 12, and I chose to go the tennis route. What position? Tell me about baseball. Let's talk.
I was a pitcher.
Yeah.
But I was put on varsity in 7th grade. I was throwing close to 90 by 9th grade. Close.
What?
Yeah, close to 90 by 9th grade. Yeah.
You look more like a biker than a pitcher, though. That's nuts.
I'm lanky. I'm lurchy,
Yeah, you
man.
just bring that freaking
I had a really good slider.
90.
Close.
So
Like
what? 88.
88, 87,
Dude,
89.
Holy shit! Do you have any videos of you playing baseball?
No, but in Long Island somewhere, my name's up on a plaque. We were on the what was it? We were on our way to the East Coast Little League World Championship.
What high school did you go to? What was the name of it?
Valley Stream North.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah,
They had
yeah.
like some good tennis players.
And I wound up going to the Little League World Series baseball camp. No, the baseball camp. But we were on track to go for the East Coast semifinals.
So what was the peak of your baseball career then? When you were like, yo, I can maybe go pro.
So what happened was in Little League, the parents got together and they said he's striking out so many kids where he's not allowed to pitch anymore. My parents didn't notice. The Little League got involved and said, you don't ever do that to him again. So one whole year, I switched position from pitcher to shortstop. Okay? And then I wound up pitching again the following year. What it was for
How
me,
old were you at that time?
maybe 14 or 15 or 16. What it was for me was Little League was a really great experience. People had the right type of competitiveness and competition. When I got into high school, it was the wrong type for me. I was not the type of guy in high school that had ladies all over me. You know, I had some friends. I wasn't like the kid who was like off in the corner by himself, but I wasn't popular. But sports allowed me to make friends because I was really good at them. And I would play down to other people's levels so they enjoyed. Yeah, yeah.
But that goes to you potentially sometimes being too nice to people.
No, because I won, because I had friends of it. Because of that, my friends had fun. They had a good time. I had a good time. It could have been baseball. It could have been volleyball. It could have been once in a while we'd play tennis. I was wickedly athletic. I really was.
You still are.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know the difference between me now and 30, you know? But, you know, I think some people might laugh and say he's a little clumsy sometimes. That's a whole different thing altogether. Some people make you nervous, and that's why you're clumsy. you know what I mean? But I don't know anymore. You know, I don't.
So did you think you were gonna go and play college baseball anywhere?
No, because I knew what I had my sights on. I wanted to go to school for painting. I told my gym coach, he goes, "Hey, we're gonna get some scouts coming out." I said, "No, don't do that." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm going to FIT for painting." Mr. May, he was just like, you know what? My parents were all behind it. They were
That's
like
great.
all behind
Do
it.
you have any siblings?
One older, one younger.
And you talk with them. You get along well with your siblings.
I get really close. I'm really close with my older brother. He's a good guy. He means well. Not as close, but he means well.
Do they both live in Queens?
No. They're both. They when my parents then gravitated from Queens to they moved more like I want to say close to upstate. It's the Lower Catskill region. They went with them, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, so your brother and sister now live in the Catskills.
Yeah, upper, like not Catskills, but like around that region.
And they work in the area?
Yeah, more up towards, by Bear Mountain region, like Bear Mountain area, Lower Catskill region. And I just I like it there, but I just didn't want to live there, Yeah. So I basically then moved back to Queens after working in advertising, then moved into Manhattan for a little bit again. And then COVID hit. And when COVID kind of slowed down a little bit, they jacked my rent $700. And I said, okay, back to Queens.
If you're comfortable talking about where the neighborhood you do live in, Flushing, correct?
Yes.
What's that like? I don't know many people who live
I
in
will
Flushing.
say this. Okay, so I've done this 2 times in my life. I worked in Harlem back in the day. We already know how old I am, so it doesn't matter if I date myself. 1998, 1999. It was a little bit different back then. At Kinko's, because I wanted to learn how to use a Macintosh, and I couldn't afford one. And Kinko's had Macintosh computers. So I was the only white guy working amongst 14, 15 black coworkers. And let me tell you something, white people. Black people, 14 or 15 black people will adopt one white employee a lot faster than 14 or 15 white people will adopt one black person.
Wow.
I became friendly with them real quick.
Yeah.
And I saw white privilege that I had never heard that phrase back then. You don't know what that phrase is. But I learned about it in 1999, 1998. What I mean by this was there was this guy, Sam, that used to work there, and Raul. They were good designers. And I was making my portfolio. So my idea was to go learn how to use that Macintosh. Believe it or not, they had a Phaser Tektronix printer, which was equivalent to magazine quality print at Kinko's. And I was going to print out my portfolio. And I started printing out my portfolio because for me, working at Kinko's was only supposed to be just for that reason. And I saw how family-orientated Harlem was. The moms from the neighborhood would come into Kinko's with a menu of what they would cook, laminated. They'd bring it in. Then they'd go home. You'd take their order. They'd go back to their apartment. They'd go cook it, and they'd come back to Kinko's and they'd give it to you.
For free?
No, you pay for it. But instead of you going out for lunch, the women in the neighborhood would make, right? And I was making my portfolio, and I had asked Raul, and I would ask Sam. I asked Sam first, hey, Sam, I keep hearing you talk about going to Bond. Bond was this higher version of Kinko's. I said, why don't you try to do what I'm doing, like go into, into advertising? And he looked at me, he goes, and they called me Jimmy, which I normally don't like, but he called me Jimmy. I said, Jimmy. He goes, no, I can't. I said, why? He said, I got a record, man. I said, huh? He said, I got a record. Never got into it too much. And he said, I'll tell you another thing. I get on the phone, they hear my voice over your voice, they don't hire me. They hire you. But I'll tell you what, I worked with them for a little bit of time. These were good guys. They were nice guys. And they took me in. They showed me the ropes of Harlem. They looked out for me. They weren't bad guys. And I know what I went on to make in my career, those digits, and I know what they didn't. I saw that in 1999. So that was the first time I ever moved into a neighborhood that wasn't all white. It was the exact opposite. Now, I didn't move there, I worked there, but I was there 4 or 5 days of the week, And I saw what it's like to be the one of only. Now I go to Flushing. Sure, there's white people, they're transient. They're coming in, they're getting their food, they're taking their girlfriend.
Yeah, they're staying at those hotels probably. There's so many hotels in Flushing, right?
They're coming in for the
like
food.
Holiday Inns, yeah.
There is. They're coming in for their food or just a very different vibe or new vibe. But on my block, I'm like the one of only. And I know what it feels like now. Again, a lot of people speak English there, yes. But I don't get the small conversations at first because, hey, you work at you go to the same coffee shop on a Friday, then you go back on Monday. How was your weekend? This and that. I'm not going to get that. I don't know Mandarin. I don't know Cantonese, and I don't speak Korean. Even though they speak English, people speak English there. That's the languages that are being spoke there, and that's the dialect that they wanted to speak with. It's not that somebody doesn't talk to me or people treat me bad. No, it's just that extra level of social that makes you feel like a human wasn't there initially. I waited for 4 years through college.
Yeah.
2 years before college. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? As soon as I moved here, I started going to the same restaurants. The reason why I started going to the same restaurants is because waiters are social people. And those restaurants, those wait staff became friendly with me to the point where one of the owners saw my camera, started to talk to me about how his son just bought a new camera. One day I go to a different restaurant, and Stella, the waitress from one of the restaurants, sees me and waves to me in the window because I normally go to her restaurant. And then it starts to feel like, okay, you know, people know you a little bit. The initial look is like, what are you doing here? It is. You know, that does exist. And how could you blame them? How could you blame people for that? People getting punched, pushed on the subway tracks, beaten, berated on the subway. So I never took it ever personal. There's this place called Fade the Bakery, right? Excuse me if I'm saying it wrong, Fade the Bakery. And in the morning, it's all the same folks. They go in there for their morning bread and their coffee. And one day, I go in there and there's not a lot of seats. And there's this old man there. He's probably about 83, 84 years old, this guy. And he looks at me and he points. He invited me to sit with him. I sit with him. Knew enough English to just say, good morning, cold outside. We smiled at each other. We had a nice little...
It was in Chinese?
Mandarin? Yeah, he said it in English, but he was Chinese.
Oh.
And people around kind of took a look because they're like, there's no way you guys really know each other that much because of the age difference, right? But it was nice. It was sweet. I would go to this place often enough that we would see each other, and he'd either ask me to sit with him or I'd tell him, hey, open seat, come sit. And we would do this from time and time and time again, and people saw it. And it's just those little things that even though you don't know the same language or enough of that language, goes such a long way that now I feel pretty darn comfortable there. You know, I do feel pretty darn comfortable there, and the food is pretty awesome. The food really is.
So everybody can get along.
Oh, definitely. But I think it's really good for people to experience, get out of your comfort zone, out of what you know of just that one side of life, because you don't know what it feels like for the other person where there's, you know, one group of 50 and then there's that one other person of one. What that feels like, once you feel it yourself, you'll be a little bit more friendly. You'll be a little bit more comfortable. You'll be a little bit more outgoing and bringing them in. Hey, you know, it's a good thing to do. I've done it 2 times in my life, and not intentionally. It just happened. So
I like that, man. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Before we get out of here, are there things that you're looking forward to professionally, personally, growth-wise in the future, or things that are maybe coming up that you talk about? Yeah.
So we follow each other on Instagram, and you see all the silly music videos that I make. I love trying to match photography and video motion with the cadence of a song or something like this. And I haven't talked to you about this. We're doing this live. We'll do it live. I would love for you to do a sketch as a rap. We set it to a really good track, and we make a music video.
I'm 100% down. Wait, you have the beat?
I don't, and that's the thing. We have to royalty free is like, you know, that stuff.
Yeah,
stinks
but what you're
part.
talking about? So how would it work?
I would want a good groove, and that's the tough part because.
What do you mean groove? Just like lyrics wise?
No lyrics. You're the lyrics.
Yeah.
Right. So no lyrics. Really good kind of beat. Cadence to a rhythm to a song.
James and I were hanging in the house.
So like
Ted Jones, I'll be sitting on the couch. James is in the king freaking chair. He's sitting about 10 feet over there.
Yeah.
Look, we got a lot going on in the house. If a girl's wearing a blouse, I'm saying what's up. That sounds weird. Something like this.
I love that.
How
and
it
then
appears.
but just do something like, so we do video where like we make a music video out of it, like in a cool vibe, you know? Like I think that'd be dope, you know?
That would be fun. All right, James. This has been great, man. Any other questions for me, or till the next time that we're on the goddamn street?
Till the next time on the streets.
Thank you so much. James, guys, thanks for tuning in and listening. A little bit different today, but if you guys have listened to all 400 episodes of the Ted Jones World podcast, God bless. And if this is your first one, thanks so much for tuning in. Tune in next time. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.